She first saw the corpse when she was 7. She'd wandered away from her mother at the runestone and followed the hollow call of a bittern from somewhere over the water. As she balanced her way across the stones, she spotted the face far down beneath the surface. It was mostly buried by mud back then. Only a cheek and a single foggy eye peered up at her. Then her mother called her name, and she went scrambling back towards the trees. But she remembered the body. She visited it every now and then, hanging over the edge of the rock, trying to push the mud away with the stick. As the years passed, the thick sludge pulled away from the face under the water. It was a woman, maybe 20 years old. She had pale hair that swam around her face like seaweed, and skin like fish bones, thin and pale white, almost translucent. The girl called her Una. Every month or so, she'd stop by the bog and see her, tell her stories about the village and her father's adventures in faraway places. She told her about their new home over the sea, and how her father was preparing it for them, how it was green and beautiful. Una listened in watchful silence. Eventually, the girl became a young woman, and her visits to the bog slowed and then stopped. She had other things to worry about now, important things that kept her awake in the night. But one day, just before the boats departed for the new settlement, she stopped to visit Una one last time. Leaning far over the rock, she looked down into the murky water, waiting for the silt to settle. Her face watched back from the water's reflection. Older now, a grown woman, pale hair dipping into the water and being stained brown by the mud. Then the water was clear, and the woman in the bog stared up at her. Pale hair, foggy eyes, and the same face that she'd known as a child. It was her face. The woman in the water was her. This realization froze her tightly in place, hands gripping the edge of the rock until they turned white. Then she pushed away from the corpse and turned frantically to the trees. She stepped over the logs and stones and tried not to let her heart tear its way out of her chest. Her breath caught in her throat with every movement. But, just as she was about to step back onto the shoreline, she tripped. A pale hand gripped her ankle, damp white fingers digging into her flesh. And then, it began to pull her back towards the water.